Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. All right, furious friends from around the globe, welcome back for episode 36 of the Unshackled Fury podcast, your uncensored home for all things Warcraft. I'm your host, Berzerker, and with me, as always, is the DJ Jazzy Jeff to my fresh prince. He is Navox. Welcome back again, sir.
Hey, yeah. Wow, that was a... I am cold, man. I came in cold. I have nothing to come back with that. Like I was gonna come up with something. I had nothing. So that's
You're bringing my beats. Where my beats at? Oh,
I can't.
Parents just don't understand.
Parents just don't understand. That's right.
One of my favorites. How you been, my friend? It's been a little extra time since the last episode. We had some real life intertwinings that made recording a little bit difficult last week, but
real life always gets in the way of things. Yes,
has a habit. But here we are back again, and generally, how have you been since the last time we were on this fine program?
Really good. We got our raid, so we finally started raiding, which is awesome. Our show had an appearance on the Dark Moon Herald, as well as Frazzlecast, which we'll talk about that coming up, which is, really, it was fun to be on those two shows.
Man, you're like a real celebrity now, making the rounds.
No.
You're a known commodity.
It'll be like that guy at BlizzCon who stood in line and was like, I'm known. Don't you know who I am? And everybody's like, nope, no idea who you are.
I'm the biggest thing in this small pond. You heard?
What about you? How about your week how have you been since we've last spoke?
Been good, been busy. Like I said, real life, always kicking my ass, but finding some time for Warcraft. And like you said, we've had some raiding going on.
Yeah.
Good to get the band back together and go beat down on some baddies and try to get some loot and complain about all the drops that won't be happening. And like
so
weapons,
true.
Apparently weapons.
Oh,
we had a weapon all the time. Now we have no weapons.
Yeah, no weapons.
I'm just gonna go in now, just bare knuckled, just beat the shit out of bosses, I guess.
You can get weapons from PvP.
Yes, I could if I did that. I finally turned war mode off, so yeah. That's probably the end of my PvP days. I still love war mode. I love the concept behind it, and I had a lot of fun. But the more I was doing my world quests, I'm like, man, I don't have time for this. I gotta go.
Yeah.
I was kind of picking up on that before, but when I've only got like 30 minutes that maybe I can carve out of a day, and I'm like, okay, I've got this amount of time to go run and do these 4 quests. What are the 4 quickest I can do? Okay, I'm gonna go kill this one, kill this one, kill this one, kill this one, because I don't have to collect anything or do anything.
Right.
Just go one shot, boom, 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 and then I get out there and there's 25 Horde and 5 Alliance, and I'm just getting smoked, and I'm having to run back, and I'm wasting all this time. I'm like, I can't do this. So that's been part of my experience. But we have a really packed show today. We've had a lot of things going on since you and I were here last. So why don't we go ahead and just get moving along here? Of course, the first thing we have on our agenda is our rage topic for the week. And it's one that we've kind of touched on this show before. It mostly has to do with us being olds, but a lot of it also has to do with sort of our gaming culture in a very specific vein that just really was pissing me off and getting on the horn with you, and we were getting all riled up about stuff. So why don't we go ahead and jump right into that? Let's rage. Okay, so this week, we have the mythic world first race currently happening. It's happening right now as you and I speak. Method and Limit, I believe, are 7 of 8 because we're recording here on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. And one of the big things about this particular race is the fact that they are live streaming their attempts by Method.
Yes.
And there are, I believe, a couple of other teams that may also be streaming. But Method's really the big one. It's the one that's out there. It's the one that's advertising. You've got Wowhead and all these other folks. Live stream, Method, world first raise, woo! You know, all the bells and whistles and giveaways and bullshit and all that kind of stuff, right? So I finally have a little bit of time the other night. What was it? Was it Friday night? I think it was Friday night.
Yeah, it was Friday night.
Yeah, it was Friday night. And I'm like, okay, I finally got some time. I know that the hours are off in terms of, because they're streaming from basically Britain, and I know they're 8 hours ahead of where I'm at, but you never know. Maybe I could jump on and see some tail end of something or the beginning of something. I don't know. They're world first streamers. They should be streaming 24 hours a day for all I know. I don't know what their schedule is. So I jump on. I'm doing a search, and I'm like, okay, where is this Method stream? And I find a guy, and there's Method in his streamer Twitch name thing, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I pull it up, and I'm watching it, and I'm seeing that they were like 4 of 8. Whatever this team that I thought was Method was 4 of 8. And I'm watching the stream, and as I'm listening to it, the thing that I was really interested in hearing was, are they going to talk about strategies? Because that's always been the big taboo of doing these live streams of progression content is you don't want to give away the goods, but now that's kind of what is implied here. So I want to listen to what the strategy is, what's going on, and I turn it on, and of course, the first thing I hear, the first thing I notice, is the thing I notice with most of these streams, is the god-awful music that is always playing on these streams. I don't know if you call this house music. It's not really like techno or electronica or whatever it is. It is just hot dumpster fire garbage music, and it just drives me crazy. I know you can't, all right, there's certain music you probably shouldn't have for copyright reasons or something. I don't know if any of this is or not, or if that's a concern for any of these people, but for God's sakes, would it kill you to throw a little Van Halen in there? A little, little Black Label Society, some Megadeth, little Slayer, even throw a little Phil Collins in. I'd be okay with that. Some Genesis, anything other than this hot garbage music. So we got that going on. And then they die a couple times, and then they're regrouping. And I'm starting to notice a few things about this stream that really start to make me question what's happening here, because I'm looking at the name, I see Method, I'm like, okay, this looks like the stream. But then I'm paying attention to the next song that comes on, and there is some interesting language as part of the song. And listen, I'm no prude, but having a song playing while you're on this stream that uses certain race-related language that I dare not utter as a white dude, it just seems like, I don't know if I'd be doing that on a stream I'm promoting. And then they start to talk strategy, and this guy is totally not paying attention to the strategy that's being discussed. He's, oh, thanks for the biddies. Oh, subscribe, like, getting all, doing the streamer thing where it's you're more concerned about the stream than you are about the strategy that's being discussed. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? What kind of a sponsored world first stream is this? Well, come to find out, somebody asked this person, and it turns out this is not the official Method stream. This is some guy who is sponsored by Method, not by another brand, not part of the official thing. This is like an offshoot. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this? What in the world is going on? How is this being allowed? Like, I would never in a million years let my team sponsor somebody who was acting like that big of a douche on the stream. There's just no way. And I started messaging you in game right away, and I'm like, are you watching this? What is this thing I'm watching? This is terrible. What is happening here? This can't be the world first race. This is garbage. So on your end of things, while I was getting all worked up, what were you encountering?
Well, I wasn't watching any of the streams because at the time I didn't really care about the world first race or anything like that. I don't really care about it till they get stuff down, but I tuned in shortly after you had told me to check, this person out. What I had realized was everybody on Twitch actually had Method in their Twitch description, and
This is false advertising.
False advertisement. Exactly. That was it. Now, I will say the one guy we were watching said that he does not raid with Method, but he was sponsored with Method, and that he should have changed his title description, but he ended it with, F it. And that was it. And he just kept streaming. And then he kept, bitching and complaining how they were working on Fetid Devourer and they couldn't get it, couldn't get it down. But that being said, I have streamers that I follow that I've been following forever. And I like to hang out in their channels, or, I love to hang out in the cosplay or the art channels and things like that. Or
Sure.
when you see people create stuff. Or hell, I even love to hang out with Taryn Gregory when he goes live and he's just fishing. Like, he's just like, all right, guys, I'm live. I'm fishing. Here's a thing. Just come fish with me. Bam. I'll go hang out with Taryn Gregory or hang out in Laura's channel when he's doing his Grand Theft Auto role play.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing. It's interesting. Don't judge me. But I agree with you. The taking on, I don't know what it is. It was, I guess I want to, heck, I don't know if I'd be, if this is sacrilege, but I'd almost call it, it's like the wrestling world of streaming that some of these people do. It's the fake,
It's like
fake
an act.
reaction. Yeah, it's an act. That's all it is an act. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what I'm getting to overall, to actually get to a point somewhere in this meandering, furious pool of madness, is maybe it's because of my age, maybe it's because of just my own history with gaming and everything else. It's one of the things that makes me one of the olds, is that there is this very put upon act that seems to go on with a lot of these streams, where it's this, and it's almost like a script where,
Yep.
hey, so-and-so, thanks for the Prime subscription. Woo, you're the best. We're still $100 short of our goal to get me a Hot Pocket for lunch. It's just, there are just certain ways, and maybe that's part of what they teach somewhere in the Twitch camp. Maybe that's when you go to these cons and they have panels. Maybe this is what they tell them to do, is this is how you build your brand, is you sound disingenuous, but you're happy about it, and you're thanking everybody for everything. And I don't know, there's something about it, and I have a hard time really putting
you need a push-up bra.
What?
It's like, sir, you are in need of a push-up bra if you're going to stream like that. It's like...
It's a very interesting part of our gaming culture that I've never quite understood. Is it's the reality show aspect that has invaded gaming,
everything. Yeah.
And there's much more to be said about Twitch and streamers and streaming and that whole society, because there's different people doing different things for different reasons, but there is this sort of, because you and I have talked offline about, it's like Facebook, or it's more like Instagram, really, where it's, here is my fake life that I want everybody to believe that I live, and I want you to be a part of it because my greatness makes you great when you're a part of whatever it is that I'm doing. And I mean, it's the reason why the Kardashians are famous. Well, besides the sex tape, but I mean, it's one of those things where I'm doing great, and if you associate with me, then by extension, you're great as well. And so, thank you for the biddies, heart hands. It's I get the douche chills, man. It makes me want to crawl inside myself because I'm embarrassed for these people. But maybe that's just because I'm old and cranky.
Oh, it's not that all. I mean, it is a mainstream media now. Like when we were growing up, we'd watch TV, we'd watch MTV, and that was it.
No.
I go out to dinner, I look over, and there's 6 kids buried in their phone just watching Fortnite streams. It is what it is. I mean, that's their entertainment now. So
we're being left behind.
yeah, that's all. I'm
Yeah.
okay with it though. I'm okay being left behind. I'm okay being left behind.
Yeah, you're not gonna get any of my biddies, and I'm not subscribing to crap.
I will say though, I am a victim of the "what in the hell is that" on stream clickbait. Like, I will go through the channels, I'll see something, I'll say, "What in the hell is that? What is happening here?" And I will click on it just to watch it. And
Sometimes, like a car crash, you just can't look away.
it's a train. Yeah, exactly. It's a train wreck.
All right. Well, we've exposed ourselves as being old people for far too long on this subject. So why don't we move on to something more positive, more constructive, and hit up some news? As you mentioned earlier in our broadcast, we have had a couple of appearances that have gone out on other shows. The first of which being that you appeared on the Dark Moon Herald last week, which features a show friend of ours. So why don't you tell the good people about the Dark Moon Herald and what you had going on out there?
Sure. The show was invited onto the Dark Moon Herald. Thank you, Kevin and Sal, for inviting the show on. And I got to sit in and do a whole show with them, and where they go through their, they've got a script that they follow. They have viewers write in and things like that. And I got to plug the show a lot. But it was a really good conversation we had. We were talking about rating, and we were talking about the listeners that were writing in were talking about, why they enjoy the class they're playing and why, and what changes they're looking forward to. And it was really fun because I got to read off some of the viewer mail and then, modulate some stuff. So it sounded real fun to pick on the Horde, they're Horde biased listeners. So they got a lot of them. And I'm going to mention Annalise on the show because she's the main Horde biased listener. It was really fun. And again, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Dark Moon Herald. So if you don't listen to the show, go out to Twitter, follow them out there. They're at Dark Moon Herald. Kevin's at Kevin Old Scratch, and Sal's at Summer_Sal. Good group of people. Very, very fun show to listen to. So it was a lot of fun promoting the show. I think Sal actually promoted the show more than I did. I was trying to go for a little unburdened soul feel to it, and a throwback to a South Park episode with I liked with Tweak, and how his dad kept, every time his dad kept talking, they'd play the Folgers commercials in the background, and I'm like, the calm guitar and stuff like that, because it's nothing nearly like what we do. And I think Sal cleared the air a little bit with the show, saying that we're not throwing an F-bomb out there every 3 seconds, things like that. But yeah, I think Sal did a really good job promoting it as well. So big huge thank you to all of them over there at the Dark Moon Herald. Yeah,
I did hear the show, and I thank you, Sal. Thank you for the kind words. Really did appreciate that. And thank you, Nav, for carrying the load for the show and the Alliance, making sure that the Alliance was well represented. And thank you as well to Kevin for the invite. And maybe sometime in the future, all of us can
absolutely
and rage on a future episode. Beyond that, we had another appearance that should be releasing pretty much at the same time as this episode goes out on Monday, September 17th, which is we both were interviewed by Frazzly for the Frazzlecast.
Yeah.
And I understand that
he's
up to
planned.
something. He's a mad scientist in his laboratory in terms of trying to get behind the Fury or something to that
He's
effect.
He's a gnome. So he's out of his mind. I don't know what he has planned, but we'll see what it's gonna sound like. But yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure what to expect out of that. Fraz is a funny guy, and we had a chance to chit chat a little bit. And I encourage everybody, check out the show. We'll be checking it out ourselves to see what sort of master plan he has put together. And
I will say this: Frazzly is a friend of the show, and he promotes the hell out of everybody's show. Like, if you want to look at a positive person in the Warcraft community, look no further than Frazzly-tastic out there on Twitter and listen to the Frazzlecast, because he really is a really positive person in the community, and he's got all these. He's just really, really enthusiastic about everything he does with podcasting, and to him, the podcast that he does is a very, very, it is a strict, regimented procedure that he has. I mean, he's, he knows his stuff now. He's, I listened to him when he first started, and it just keeps getting better and better. So guys, go give Frazzly a follow and a listen out there on Twitter. So yeah.
Yeah. It still amazes me to this very moment that he reaches out to us and converses with us the way that he does, because he is one of the singular most optimistic
I know.
people I've ever come across. And I'm like, you do realize what kind of black cloud individuals you're talking to here, right? Like we're rageaholics, through and through. And here you are spreading sunshine everywhere. And I don't know, maybe he sees us as a couple of lost souls and he just wants to try to help us, like, dogs in a pound or something. I don't know. So anyway, check out Frazzlecast. Our episode with him should be coming out Monday the 17th, right about the time this episode comes out, and we'll all check it out together. Beyond that, as we've already discussed, we have now reached the point of the expansion where we've had a few weeks to play around with the first. We're not really doing tiers anymore, but I guess the first raid of the expansion in Uldir. Yeah. Which is an extension of the Horde side story up to this point in the expansion. So if you're Alliance, you're kind of coming in cold, but it's pretty easy to catch up on what's going on. Essentially, you have a bunch of Titan architecture that's underneath where we're going over there in Zandalar. It was an ancient Titan laboratory for the most part, where they experimented on old god stuff, trying to figure out essentially how do you solve the problem of the old gods. It's like how do you solve the problem like Maria from Sound of Music. It's how do you solve a problem like Nazoth. It's same kind of thing. Lots of singing and dancing. And ultimately, it resulted in the horrors that are unleashed in Uldir, and you have to go down there and try to kick their asses and do all the good stuff that we usually do. So far, now that we're a couple of weeks in and have had some time to trash the place a bit, what's been your experience so far in the depths of Uldir?
Been having a lot of fun with it. We cleared normal, and we also downed the first boss on heroic.
Oh.
Yeah, so I got to DPS the first half of Uldir, and then I got to tank the last two parts of Uldir. And it's a lot of, as a DPS, I will say this, as a DPS, it's a lot of fun. As a tank, there's a learning curve to the fights and the mechanics, but as a tank, a lot of it is, right now, it's just tank and spank. Everything's just tank and spank, taught on this, and I didn't feel really engaged as a tank, but I'm sure it'll get better as heroic and mythic goes on and things like that. I just fill in whenever one of our main tanks is out. So I will fall back into the arms position next week, and I'll get to go do some more DPS damage and things like that. But all in all, I'm really enjoying Uldir as our first raid in this more than what we experienced with Emerald Nightmare in Legion.
Yeah,
I didn't really like Emerald Nightmare all that much. I really enjoy Uldir. The architecture inside, I get a real Aliens vibe to it. I got a Total Recall vibe. When you're walking down a hallway and you see the lights, there's lights underneath the you're walking in this hallway. It comes to a V, and you can go left or right. And I walk down there. I'm like, man, this is very, very. This looks like very like Total Recall, Aliens. I mean, it's got a very, very cool sci-fi feel to it.
It does have that like H.R. Giger
yes,
Blade Runner feel.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. That's it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's where you go up, like when you're on the perimeter, basically because you go around the perimeter before you can go into the center of the raid area of the whole raid. And you go up those stairs, or go up those stairs, and then into the individual rooms, and they're colored, like one's red or one's blue or whatever.
Yes.
And underneath those columns that you have to go around to get into the room where you fight the boss, the lighting is underneath this lip. I've looked at it a bunch too because I was like, man, this is really cool.
Yeah, it's like the Titans went to IKEA and bought all those cool lights that go underneath the cabinets. So it's really neat. So I really like that feel to it. A couple fights that stand out in my head are, oh man, I forgot what the guy's name is. I want to say Zol. Zool. Yes, that is a fun fight. If you're DPS, that is a fun fight. It is a blender fight. I love it. It's so much fun because the tanks they just bring everything to the center of the room, and it's just you just go crazy and just kill everything, especially all the AoE classes, you guys.
Guess it depends on what strat, because that's not how we're doing it. And I hate that fight.
I'm sorry.
I hate that fight.
It makes it so much easier if the DPS just stands in the center of the room and the tanks just bring in those things one at a time. And
our team tried that strat and it wasn't quite working out, so we're not doing it that way. And let me tell you, we are having to switch to ads like crazy, and I'm getting carpal tunnel. We're having to jump around so much. And I was going to say, of all the things that I like everything except for that fight, I dislike that fight very much. Very much. But I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, right out of the gate, I think they did a good job right out of the gate. Again, I could use a two-handed weapon. I'm sure everybody could use a two-handed weapon. Even the one-handed weapon people could use a two-handed weapon. But one thing I did enjoy, though, was that we were able to trade some of the gear that we have. So going in there at normal, you're getting a 340 gear or a 350 something gear.
355.
355, right? So we were able to trade some of the gear down and around to some of the other classes. So it's not too bad with the loot distribution. And we didn't really have too much. We had a little bit of trouble on the last boss. But once we figured out the last boss is actually really fun, because as a DPS, you have to take these balls of light and run them down this tunnel and dunk them. And, it clears the room out of all this bad stuff. I think there's a lot of fun mechanics they built into this fight.
Absolutely. I was going to say, number one, I'm a sucker for Titan architecture in this game. So anytime that they want to do that, I'm on board. And however they want to make that look, I love the scale of everything. And it's one of the things that I love in my gaming or my entertainment, sci-fi, movies, TV shows, whatever you want to call it. I always love it when they have these large scale places that you go, whether it's like Uldir, Ulduar, these big Titan complexes that we have in Warcraft, or let's say, because I was just watching Avengers Infinity War a couple of nights ago. There's a scene in that movie that takes place where they forged Thor's hammer. And when they're like walking around that place, just the scale of everything is so big. Or like when you mentioned Alien, when they crash on that planet in Alien and you see the what do they call him? The space pilot, the guy that's like dead with the big suit. And he's sitting in like the huge apparatus.
Yes.
I just love all that stuff. And so Uldir for me really hits that vibe, just full flush on. Plus, like you mentioned, little things like the lighting.
Yeah.
The environmental details, all of that kind of stuff just really brings me in and I get all jazzed up about it. On top of that, the fights, like you said, the mechanics are varied in a way that I find very interesting, and it's good as much as, listen, I got to have a tank and spank fight every once in a while. You got to have that good old patchwork fight just to get it out of the way.
Right, yeah.
Those can have their time and place, but yeah, being able to be mindful of a couple of things at once or trying different things and, different roles are responsible for different things. Love it when they can mix it up. And to your other point, I'm enjoying this one much more than I did the opening raids, essentially, for both Legion and for Warlords. I think that the Ogre one that we had for Warlords was just one of the worst.
Yeah, it was.
I don't even know what that was. The fact that they killed one of the coolest warlords in the very first fight of that whole thing, I think immediately set me just in the wrong direction on that place. But I've enjoyed this raid probably as much as I've enjoyed any in quite some time.
Right.
But like I said, the one thing that I do lament is, at least for now, the way that we're doing the Zul Reborn fight. It's driving me crazy. But overall, our team we're almost done with normals. We've only got a couple left. And we'll be moving on to heroics, I'm sure, shortly after that, because we're all kind of chomping at the bit to do that. But overall, really enjoying Uldir. Can't wait to see what they've got coming next, because frankly, they have to be rolling something out on the PTR before too long. Can't keep us guessing. So as we've been progressing through this, going back to now, also the other thing we talked about is that Method, who is a well-known guild from overseas, who has participated in world first races for quite some time. For the first time ever, as far as I know, they are live streaming their mythic progression. And this is a big deal for those of us who pay attention to these kinds of things, because not only has this never been done before, but it's doing something which was the reason why this was never done before, which is that it's opening up visually all of the strats that are being used by this world first chasing team to down all of this stuff for the first time. And you are getting live insight into how they're going about doing this, which for years, forever, for as long as they've been doing this, all teams have kept these closely guarded secrets as to how they're actually making it through these, what used to be heroic 25 raids, and now it's these mythic raids. I had to say, I'm pretty surprised that they're doing this. And there's a cynical part of me that wonders why would you do this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would you risk your chance at are you just that confident? I mean, that's some pretty big Vince McMahon grapefruit size testicular fortitude to go out there to say, you know what, we'll show you everything we're doing and we're still gonna do it. Like, that's pretty ballsy. On the other hand, it's like, well, what other reasons could they be doing this? Or is it just, you know what, we're gonna do it, we think it would be fun and people would enjoy it, and we're gonna do that? So once they announced this and all of this brouhaha was happening, how did you take this in?
Well, one, I've never been a big world first follower. Like, I know for some people that's their thing. They love to watch the world first race.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather be playing the game than watching somebody else. Like, I'm one of the old guys. I like to be playing the game rather than watching somebody else play the game. But on the other hand, I do understand how it is good for the Warcraft community, for the guilds like Limit, Exorcist, and Method to put the time and effort into doing the mythic rating, because it does put the spotlight on Warcraft, and the game's not dead. It's still going on. It's still a very popular game that people play.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not that big into watching, the mythic race live until the very, I'm this way with football. I don't watch football till the playoffs. Like, I don't care. Yeah, oh man, let me tell you, I play fantasy football. I don't watch football till the playoffs and the Super Bowl.
How can you appreciate the story if you only read the ending?
Well, there you go.
You're like my wife's grandmother, who comes in at the end of every playoff basketball game at the last 30 seconds. She goes, well, this is the only part that's exciting and matters. Yeah, but you're missing everything else. Yeah, but this is where it ends.
Dynasty starts now.
Cheaters.
I'm just playing. So anyway, so that being said, though, during the Method stream and also during the fake Method streams that we were watching, everybody was stuck on Feta Devourer. And the mythic, what we had learned from that, though, was that the boss was too hard. And I was thinking to myself, well, of course the damn boss is too hard. You've only been in the game for almost a month. You don't have nearly as much gear as you want. Get some gear, you'll be fine. Well, the fight was actually legitimately hard, and Ian actually addressed that in the AMA. We're going to talk about that later on, but during the AMA, Ian addressed the first few hours on Feta Devourer were pretty rough, and that they had to do a final tuning pass right before Mythic opens. And based on the data that they saw from players in the live environment during the first week of Heroic, that the last minute change to the encounter simply had some bad math to it. Mm-hmm. And the result was the boss was legitimately mathematically impossible. So they had to make a change for that, which was actually pretty interesting. And we wouldn't have known about that had we not had the Mythic World First race going on and these guys were busting their head against the wall.
That's true.
So, on one hand, it actually helps the community big time when these guys go in there and they're just stressing it out with their low-level gear and making it through. We've got 3 teams right now battling Goon, the last boss. So I can see the benefits of it. But to me, it's still a lot of watching people go wipe after wipe after wipe. And I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, I like that. You hear in the community about, this team or that team, and you'll see them at BlizzCon, or they're represented in other aspects of the game, whether it be the world first rating, or maybe a PvP team or something like that. You know, the arena teams or Mythic plus, you know, the Mythic Invitational, Mythic Dungeon stuff. But I kind of like an aspect of this in the sense that it just makes these people human.
Yeah,
because
yeah, exactly.
sometimes, I mean, I'm looking at this. My team hasn't even cleared the thing on Heroic, and these guys are looking at clearing the thing on Mythic and basically being done with the raid. And for me, there is a certain amount of satisfaction in a you know, it's not the most egalitarian kind of thing, but there is some satisfaction seeing these guys have to stress and wipe and try to figure stuff out and, you know, go through all the stuff that all raid teams go through, that the push and pull, the success and the failure, and to see all of that in real time, you know, it kind of humanizes them a little bit, and I appreciate that. I think that overall, this change in philosophy in terms of being able to stream these progression raids, I think it's somewhat innovative, and I wouldn't be surprised that this is now the new norm based on the view counts that they get. I have a feeling they're getting a fair number of eyeballs on this, and they've set up with their sponsors that this is something that they're going to do. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this going on now for future raids. That being said, if there is anything that I would offer, is they need to be more coordinated. Again, this is about me being an old person.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know what their schedule is. I need to know where things are and when they're going to be there, because I had to do way too much independent research in all various places to try to figure out, okay, what time are they going to be raiding? What time can I see this thing? What's the channel and who's the thing and this and that. Like, I knew I could go to Method's website, but then, okay, what stream is the what? And this doesn't look like, I'm not sure what this is. And it could have been better organized. And for a bunch of tech guys at the top of the game, I kind of expected a little bit more. Like, I should be able to go to their Twitter page and, oh, there's the schedule. We're going to be raiding from this time to this time, Greenwich Mean Time or whatever. And there was none of that. So just from a managerial standpoint, I hope going forward that they have a better presentation in that respect. So that way people like myself can jump on and say, okay, you know, it's whatever time. Okay, now's a good time because they're going to be streaming or they're not. And I don't get stuck watching some dipshit, you know, on some other stream that's not really Method and driving me crazy. More cynically, I hope that this is not about the fact that they've locked in sponsorships, and so now they're kind of getting a monetary end or whatever the thing is, and they'll have generally world first. I worry that it dulls the competitive senses. This is kind of like the Rocky Balboa thing, where, you know, once he became the champ, he wasn't quite the same guy.
Right.
And I always want to make sure that my people that are going to be the champion, that they're hungry, that, you know, they're down there like Clubber Lang doing pull-ups in a closet. Because that's how you stay rugged. That's how you stay tough. That's how you keep the eye of the tiger.
Eye of the tiger. That's right.
That's right. And sitting in a London hotel room getting fed sushi while you're sponsored by Red Bull, I just don't know if that's the same level of competitive spirit. And I don't know that for a fact. They could be more competitive than anybody 10 times over and be getting fed peeled grapes at the same time. I hope that this sort of experience does not dull the competition that's going on for the best folks. And I'm sure that it won't. But nonetheless, an interesting and innovative move by one of the top teams in the world. And we look forward to seeing what they may have in the future. On the opposite side of that, for, let's say, the more casual of us, Blizzard on Twitter released something for the first time that we've never seen before, which was essentially a TLDR version of how to do the first wing, quote unquote, of LFR for Uldir. And what they put out there essentially was it's a one-page, one-picture kind of description.
Hieroglyphics.
Yeah, with a bunch of weird symbols and things on how to get through Talok the Corrupted, Mother, and Zekvaz, Herald of Nazoth. And in each one of these pictures, this was from September 11th on the Warcraft Twitter feed, they put out these sort of descriptions of abilities, how you deal with those abilities, and I was actually pretty encouraged to see that for the first time you're helping that group of people where, let's face it, if you're doing LFR, unless you're being forced to by some team because you're gearing up some alt or some kind of crazy thing, you're really only doing LFR because that's what you have time for. You don't have time for a structured raid team. That's what LFR was designed for, is to allow people who can't make a traditional raid team situation work to be able to still experience that content in a, it's in a much easier format. They lessen abilities, it's less damage, it's designed as, something that is not necessarily foolproof, but it's not far from, but you're still having to deal with a bunch of other people that you don't know and you're not beholden to, and you don't know what you're getting with that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really nice that they put out something for those players to be able to walk in and say, okay, I've seen kind of what, these other websites, maybe Wowhead, or there was a guide somewhere on Icy Veins that I saw, or I was in the forums on MMO Champion and this is what I saw, but something official from Blizzard saying, hey, here's this boss, here's what they do, and here's how you make your way through it. And I thought that was a pretty nice thing to add for that group of players. What do you make of it?
Absolutely. I think it is a very nice thing that they put out for the players. It would be nice if they actually put that in the dungeon guide, like in game though, because when you showed this to me, I didn't know this even existed. And, I like that, they've got these things just outlined, but I think a lot of people are still going to go out and watch videos on YouTube more than this. But I will say this, the mother one they have is spot on. Like, that is spot on. That is a great, it's a great instructional piece there. And what I'm really surprised is that we've been killing the bosses in the wrong order, apparently, because Zekvaz was the third boss, and we're all killing Feta Devourer. So we didn't get the memo, Blizz, that we were supposed to be killing it in this order. So
see, and this is why we need these things to tell us how to do it.
we went the wrong way.
We've been going the wrong way, and who knows? Maybe there was some added benefit that we've totally missed out on. Well, and this made me think that, when we've gone through and we prepared for raids, typically, it's kind of the same process for most of us on raid teams, where we look at, guides from sources we trust. We'll watch videos. I mean, Fat Boss is one of the few that actually still makes videos, and I know they've partnered with Wowhead over time, and they've been part of that process. Who I really miss was the line of sight guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Because they used to do, for anybody that doesn't remember these, for a period of time, this was probably about an expansion or so ago, they put out these 2-minute videos breaking down how to do each boss fight in a raid. And they haven't done it for a while. They're still kind of out there in the community. I know I've seen them on a couple different shows here and there, but they don't put out these videos anymore. And it's a real shame, because I thought that was one of the single best forms of preparation for a raid that I've ever seen, because you go through, Fat Boss has been around forever, and those two guys, they know what they're doing, but I think that the presentation is difficult when you're showing, these live streams, basically videos of a raid that you went through, and you're trying to kind of explain, maybe you do some little graphics here, you highlight something and say, okay, here's what you pay attention to, or this and that. But the way that they were graphically representing these things on the line of sight videos, these 2-minute videos that they were putting out, I thought was really well done. And that's what these LFR cards that Warcraft put out kind of reminded me of, is here was a visual representation of how to think about these things that might make it a little easier to digest. And I feel like we need a little bit more of that in our community. I feel like sometimes it gets so complicated that it's hard to keep track of everything, and some things just kind of get lost in translation. Where with the line of sight videos, they broke the most complex fights down into really simple terms, and I don't know if we have enough of that right now, which is one of the reasons why I really appreciated this so much. So I guess we'll see more of these.
Now, I will say this, that there are two YouTubers out there that do something similar to the line of sight guys. If you guys are still listening and wanting to go out there and find something like that, Ready Check Pull is one of them, and then Hazelnutty Games is the other one. And Hazel does a really good job, just like what Tap Ventovo used to do with the little icons. You know, you put it down on the map, you explain that DPS needs to run in here. This comes out, you need to run out. But I am totally with you with that. I love a visual instruction guide versus just listening to, you know, I watch the Fat Boss videos, but they don't really help me out all that much. I mean, I can appreciate the work that goes into them. I know making a video is a lot of time and effort, so I'm not going to sit here and dog on the videos, but those videos don't really help me out all that much. I mean, they give me the cues of, okay, at this time, this is going to happen. At this is going to happen. At this is going to happen. A lot of the times those videos are made in beta, and it, you know, maybe some things don't happen the same way in live that they did in beta and vice versa. So,
and then they're upfront. I mean, to be fair, they're upfront about that. And they say this is taken from beta and things may change in live. But to your point, it's their videos, at least the Fat Boss videos that I see, they are very comprehensive, which there are a lot of people who need that, and they do a great job of saying, here is every single thing that happens and every single way that it happens, and you get the plethora of information you need about a boss fight. And for some people that really works. But yeah, it would be nice to see a little bit more of the brevity making somewhat of a comeback. So I'll have to check those out, the ones that you're mentioning, because I don't think I've seen those before. So that kind of covers all of the wonderful Udyr action that's been happening over the last couple of weeks. Now, let's jump into something a little more near and dear to my heart, something I've been waiting for months and months and months and months and months, and has not maybe quite worked out as well as I had hoped. And this, of course, I'm talking about are the Warfronts. They have finally gone live. As Alliance side, we got to kind of see them first and jump in and do some quests and kill some rares. And then nothing. After all the hype and after all the excitement, it's been kind of a letdown. You and I talked before we jumped on, and I think that your kind of take on this, your frustrations really sum up, I think, the community's frustrations as a whole. So why don't you kind of brief us on what the Warfronts are and what the reception has been and why?
Well, for one, okay, let's approach this as somebody who is new to Warcraft, or not even new to Warcraft, somebody who just relies on all of the information that you're given in game to play Warcraft. Let's go off of that solely.
Okay.
The Alliance were handed the end of the Warfront first. While the Horde was gathering their resources, the Alliance got to go and kill all of the rares and get armor, you know, do the whole loot pinata thing. We killed the world boss. We ran around. We killed all the rares. And then after that, we sat around because there was nothing left to do at that point. Like, once you kill everything, there's nothing left to do. Plus, I can't go in there with I can't take my friends with me. We can go in as a party, but I can't take 20 of my friends with me. I can't make a raid and go do these things. I didn't know that you couldn't do that. You can't take a raid in to go do these Warfronts. After you're done with the Warfront, which took me I want to say maybe it took me an hour total to complete everything, because I kept flying back and forth like an idiot. I didn't know, you know, I should have just followed a pattern around the zone to get all the rares. I finally found a map that had all the rares.
Oh.
You know, and I didn't realize every single rare dropped something. So I was learning about that. Once you're done, you're done. That's it. Then you're just sitting on your ass and not doing anything. And then the Warfront is there, but and then I got out of it. I'm like, okay, great. So next week, what happens? Do we start trying to replenish? Because I know the Horde was doing that. When do we get to start doing that? I don't know. Nothing. There's nothing to tell you that. There's no breadcrumb. There's nothing to tell you what to do next. Now, when I logged in this morning, I went back to the table next to the portal.
In Borealis,
behind the ship that you have to your quest tables on the ship. Behind it is the table you talk to. You're talking to a table. It's crazy. To go do the Warfront. And at the time I was on, it said there were 2 hours and 30 minutes left before we can start contributing to the Warfront.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. I haven't been on since. So when I log in a game, I hope that a quest automatically pops up and tells me that, hey, it's your turn to go do this portion of the Warfront.
Yeah, they're taking turn-ins now.
Okay. So does it tell you that once you log in a game, or do you actually have to go back and check in with the table again? Because
I'm not entirely sure.
See, and that's the thing.
I haven't jumped in today either.
Oh, okay. So I don't, it just, I wish this was a little better outlined. I wish there was more of a, I wish there was a GUI that we had. For example, we were using Wowhead for our information when we wanted to know when the Legion Mage Tower was up. And this is what I'm kind of like feeling with this Warfront. Like, I'm just interested in going there and getting loot that I need so I can power up my character at this point. Other than that, I see the potential for fun, but it's just another area that I have to go to get more loot that I want to get. So what happens when I'm done collecting all the loot? Do I really care about going back to the Warfront? I mean, it's like, I know that they have a world boss there, but once I collect all the pets, all the armor, I don't know. I hope the Warfront scales up. I hope we get a little more. I hope we get different Warfronts elsewhere. Maybe in time, maybe there will be 3 or 4 or 5 Warfronts, and that way we don't have such a lull in we're sitting on our asses not doing anything in regards to the Warfront. I don't know, but the Warfront to me right now is just it's just a zone that we go to get loot. It's not. I haven't. It is what it is. So I'm not too excited about it either way. That's sorry. I mean, I love everything that Blizzard does. I love World of Warcraft. I'm just like, it's like.
Yeah, and that seems to be kind of the general response that it's gotten at this point. And in a minute, we're going to talk about the AMA on Reddit that Ian Hazzikostas did, and he did address some of these concerns. But for me, and anyone's listened to this show in the last 6 months or so knows how excited I've been about Warfronts to be able to finally jump in, and based on what I've seen, what I thought we were going to be able to do, because they were advertising this as essentially taking the RTS version of Warcraft and putting it into World of Warcraft. Like, I am all about that. Plus, those rewards were super good. That the transmog was some of the best I've ever seen. Like, I was fully hyped. For me, what's happened with Warfronts is really the first crack in the veneer that I've seen for Battle for Azeroth, where I have come in super high. I've really enjoyed everything, but this is the first time where I've kind of been like, what happened here?
Right.
And when I first jumped in, I saw, okay, we can go to Arathi Highlands. Stromgarde looks amazing. They've got all this great art going on over there. There's, vendors all over the place, all kinds of stuff. I'm like, yes, this place is great. Let's go. Let's do this thing. There's a whole bunch of quests. I got all the quests. There's rares everywhere. All right, I'm going to do these quests, and I'm killing these rares, and I got a raptor mount, and I got some other toys, and like, this is phenomenal. And then I turn everything in, and I'm done.
Yep.
And that's it. The rares don't reset. There's no more quests. I can't turn anything in. There's no RTS anything. The vendors don't have anything I need. I'm going to everything that I can find, and I'm like, there's nothing here. Like, what the hell? Like, I was expecting so much more. So for me, it was a huge letdown, unfortunately, after the initial rush of like, okay, cool, there's quests and there's all this stuff, and then the entire rest of the time the Alliance controlled the zone. I have no reason to go back unless I wanted to run an alt. I could have run an alt through and done the same thing.
I still don't know what to do right now. Like, you could go through the portal and go to Arathi Highlands and kill rares. Like, you could still go and do that if you wanted to, even though we don't control the zone.
But it doesn't. But the rares haven't reset. So we have like this whole cycle where right now all of the rares that I've killed, I can kill them again, but I'm not gonna. The loot table doesn't refresh.
Right. No. But what I'm saying is, even though the Horde control it, say you didn't do any of this right now.
Oh,
the Horde control it. You can go through and kill all that stuff.
Yeah.
That I'm puzzled. Like, I thought, we're supposed to build this up and then.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're building, machines and buildings.
Our castles.
And,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like the RTS stuff that they talked about.
Right.
And not only are we not doing any of that, but we're also having to wait, I mean, an absurd amount of time, it feels like, to get from round to round. And we'll talk about kind of Ian's responses to a lot of this stuff, because thankfully they admit that this hasn't been handled and rolled out the way that they had hoped, and that our expectation has not been met by the reality of what we've got. But to your point, it does feel like this is just the beginning. This is how it starts.
Right.
There will be more as time goes on. In fact, it sounds like it may have been data mined or leaked where 3 future locations will be for more Warfronts.
Okay.
Yes. Those 3 locations, if you want to skip ahead about 15 seconds, are Barrens, Silver Moon, and Ajara.
Oh, nice.
So it sounds like what may happen, and I saw this on Wowhead, was that what may happen is that the Alliance, is at Stromguard's being attacked, and then the Alliance goes on the offensive.
Okay.
And then we'll go to those places, and there'll be, some sort of Warfronts there. So I could see where you have this rotation happening of those 4 places total, where maybe one week you've got one here, and then the next week you've got one over here, and then here, and then here. So there's always something to do. There's always, every week you've got one going. And so, again, if you look at the long term, looks like it might be a good idea. In the short term, woefully underperforming in terms of, or under delivering, I think, what we were promised. But with all of that in mind, and with the locations I just named, is there a place where you think you'd want to have a Warfront stationed?
I know we already have a battleground with it, but I thought a really, really larger scale Alterac Valley, because they got enough guys on the map that you can go back and forth with, and they have enough rares that it would make a good Warfront to do. I think I won't mention the ones because we already discussed them, but I'm trying to think around the zones where it would. Winter Spring, that is a highly underutilized zone that I really loved. I don't know how you would do a Warfront up in Winter Spring, but it would be the environment's fun. Terran Mill would be a good Warfront, but that brings back the old feeling of, the old Horde V Alliance there. So
Terran Mill and South Shore.
Yeah.
But it's also like right on the other side of Thoradin's wall, which is right there where the Stromguard is. So it wouldn't be too far.
Yeah,
I was trying to think of, what are places that have strategic advantage?
Yeah.
What would be places that could be, compelling
Teldrassil.
enough?
I mean, what? No.
Yeah. Well, the flip side of that, what about the ruins of Lordaeron?
Yeah, it's true. That would be a good one. Yeah.
Okay, that area is blighted and plagued and, not so great. But you know what? That might give the Horde a chance to hang out there for a little bit, maybe go back down in Undercity for a couple of weeks and hang out as a spot. And then the Alliance comes back and chases them out. And, we try to rebuild Lordaeron and take it back. And then you could just have this sort of back and forth over who actually controls that land.
Yeah.
That would really be the only one I could think of other than where we are. But I'm sure there's plenty of good spots they could pick. Point being, there definitely needs to be more. I'm sure that there is more coming, but man, that has massively underdelivered for what I had hoped. So hopefully, as time goes on, I'll look back and we'll look back and say, you know what? It was a little rough going at the start, but they figured it out, and now we're having a lot of fun, and we're rocking and rolling, and now we're getting, eye level 500 pieces of gear, and we're all running around on super crazy mounts. Which, by the way, do you have like a train mount or a tank mount or something?
Okay, no. I know I posted it on Twitter. All that is I finished up the rep I needed, and got the Pathfinder achievement, so I could unlock the Dark Iron Dwarves. So to do the Dark Iron Dwarves quest line, there's a part in a quest line where you have to go through Molten Core, and they give you this vehicle to just raise havoc going through here, and it's just essentially a big fire truck, a fire tanker that shoots water out. So when you're going through, you're just extinguishing all the flames and things like that. I thought it was really neat. I loved it. make it a mount, I'll buy it. That's a great looking vehicle. But no, I don't have a new mount. It's just you do actually. Hang on, not to ruin it. You do get a very, very cool mount when you do unlock the Dark Iron Dwarves during that quest line. It's a really neat looking Fire Panther. I really like it. It's like it looks like Cro-Magnus, but that was that. That's all that was.
I think it's sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty neat looking.
All right, so we have touched on a bevy of things here, and to bring it all home, Ian Hazzikostas, as we mentioned earlier, just had an AMA Ask Me Anything on Reddit, and it was a truly marathon session of question and answering. So never accuse my man of not being comprehensive in the answers that he gives, because my God, he was there for hours, and he gave some very extensive answers to questions that people were asking. And a lot of those questions were about items that we've touched on this show and plenty of other people have touched on concerning certain aspects of the game that haven't yet quite panned out as we had hoped. Warfronts being one, Azerite gear being another, and several other topics that were touched on. And I thought that Ian really came with the typical honesty that he comes with in terms of saying, yes, this didn't work out quite how we wanted it to. Here's what we're going to do about these things, and on and on. And, you know, you got to give him credit because, again, we never used to get anything like this. So for him to open up in the way that he did, I thought was fantastic, especially when it comes to trying to increase their transparency, which they admit still is not the best.
Right.
They're still trying to figure it out. It's better than what we had. Has a way to go. But it was very long. I encourage anyone that hasn't seen it yet, Wowhead, MMO Champion, Reddit itself where it happened, all these places have a breakdown of the questions and answers and all that kind of jazz. But for this show, for us, going through the list, I know you and I both had things that we picked up on that we thought were of particular importance. So for you, what were the items that you thought were the most impactful that you saw coming out of this AMA?
So, number one, Azerite armor, because nothing annoys me more than getting a new piece of Azerite gear and just putting it in my bags and letting it sit there till I get enough, Heart of Azeroth power to unlock the second ring. Anything beyond, the second ring is just, you don't really need the stuff, but you need that outer ring and you need the second one, I think. And because you can't unlock the second one, unless it's a huge upgrade, like I have a 360 item level chest that's sitting in my bag right now because I can't unlock. I haven't unlocked the second trait yet. So I needed to get my Heart of Azeroth to 21. So I did that, and then it unlocked, and now I can use it. But it was just, it's when people get upgrades, they want to use it right away. And I remember in Legion, they were saying, it should feel like when you get a piece of armor and it's an upgrade, then we want you to feel like it's an upgrade and you should put it on. You shouldn't have to go sim it and figure out what you need. No, you still need to do all that apparently. And it just, I don't know, it was very lackluster to me. And and he said, in terms of long-term prospects, that they see the current system as a foundation of which to continue building, not a treadmill to throw out there and let it sit passively for the rest of the expansion. So they said they'll be adding lots of new traits. They'll be, retiring some of the other traits. They'll tune things as they see it. And, hopefully things will ramp up in the very near future for us here. So that was one of the things I saw. Another thing that came up were shaman improvements. I don't play a shaman, but I know a lot of friends that play shaman, and they're not very happy with them at the moment. But he has said with that, it's going to need a patch and not a hot fix because they have to rework the class. And it was really nice because Kyvex and Lore also, were able to work the Ask Me Anything. And, they had some things to say about, making the character and the class feel just as important or just as useful in certain situations and then excel in some situations. It doesn't do any good if everybody excels in every situation at every point in time. But right now the shaman are just not in a good place apparently, so they're going to rework that class, which is nice. Another thing they talked about was the island expeditions. I don't know how many island expeditions you've done, but
2.
Okay, so I've been doing a lot of island expeditions. I make sure I fill out my island expeditions bar every single week. But right now it's just run in there, pull everything. There's really no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing in that thing except pull mobs and kill stuff. I'm doing it as a means to get more Azerite power, and
Right.
it's just I'm not. I hate to say I love again. I'm not going to preface everything with I love Blizzard, I love Warcraft. I do. Plain and simple. I love Blizzard. I love Warcraft. I'll play their games. I'll buy anything they put out with Warcraft. It's not here nor there. But right now, island expeditions to me are just boring. It's just a pull fest. You kill stuff. I'm not really feeling yay or nay on anything. It is what it is. So I'm not going to keep going. I'm not keep bashing on it. Everybody, I think, may be feeling the same way with that. Right now, it's just a go race to gather up all the Azerite stuff. Those were the big things that I took away from it. How about you? What'd you find interesting out of that?
Yeah, I think for us, for this show, nobody is ever beyond critique, right? And that's sort of one of the things is you and I don't kiss Blizzard's ass because we need to or anything like that. It's like we love generally what they do, but yes, if there are things that aren't great, we're going to say something about it. I mean, it's part of what we do here on this show is that, we're beholden to no one. So if there are things that don't feel good, they don't feel good, and we'll say so. And, that's part of us giving our feedback in the format that we do. Now, to the AMA, the biggest thing overall that stuck out to me, and this makes a lot of sense and something we've touched on before, is that a lot of the systems that they've put into place are built around the long term. How Azerite power works, how the Warfronts are working, how the Azerite gear is working, all of this stuff, it feels like they've intended to build in this sort of lead time to extend the life cycle of whatever that particular thing is. And so what they're doing is they're also unintentionally making it feel like these activities aren't rewarding enough because they're trying to stretch it out so far. And so by not giving you all of this stuff up front, because they don't want you to just blow through it and then totally be done with it, they're trying to say, okay, we'll give you a little bit now, and there'll be a little bit more later, and then there'll be some more later. And so it seems like that's their design philosophy right now, is that, well, yes, there's stuff now, but there's going to need to be more stuff later. And so we're going to keep the hose at a kind of a more of a trickle than just an open flow all the time to extend how long this stuff is going to be relevant. But unfortunately, it seems like they've gone too far in restricting the reward part of this, and people are getting upset.
I really hope, though, that this is not it. Like, I hope they're not scrambling, being like, "Oh Jesus, we need to design more here," because
I don't think
people
so.
are eating all this stuff up so fast. I mean, we're going to eat it up. I mean, you put it out there, we're going to eat it up fast. So
I don't think so. I think that there is a certain amount. I get the sense. Again, you and I don't work there. We're not in the meetings. We don't know. But my sense is that they put things out there and they say, okay, based on internal testing, beta testing, alpha testing, whatever you want to call it, and whatever data they have, here is how we think things will work. Here is the pace that we think things will work at. Looking at how often people play, their average engagement time. They only have this much time to do things. Because you have people like, and this is not to be offensive to you, but you have more play time, I think, than the average person does.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So
yeah, I do.
When you're able to, get to a certain level of, your Heart of Azeroth is at a certain level, or you're at a certain level of eye level, or whatever the thing is, I think you're probably on the higher end, the upper end of the engagement time. Whereas I think they're probably finding that more people are on that lower end. And so for them, it's, okay, they only have so much time, so we'll try to build around that. And it's when those people are having the problem, which it seems like they are, that's when I think they can really tell that they've made a mistake, because you have people that are like, I only have so much time and I'm doing the thing, but I'm still not feeling very rewarded.
Right. Okay.
if it was only the people who had more time that were feeling kind of bad, they'd be like, well, you just have more time on your hands. But I think it's when you have that lower end of the deal where it's, you know what, I don't have a lot of time and I'm spending it doing this and I still don't feel good about it. Then that's a problem. And I think that they recognize that. And in particular with the Azurite armor, they've talked about how Ian talked about they're going to be retiring some of the talents that are in the gear because they recognize that it just doesn't work or doesn't feel right or doesn't jive with a spec or whatever. They'll be adding, I think, more impactful ones in the future, which I've kind of always assumed as the expansion goes on, you're going to see certain pieces of gear with certain, you know, little boosts that are going to come that are really going to blow people away. They say, oh shit, I really got to get that piece because it's going to have this thing that will be akin to our artifact traits where now I'm going to have this, or it's going to bump this up by 5% instead of 1%, or because that was one of the complaints that was made was if you think about the old talent trees, you'll get 1% more hit. Oh, big fucking whoop. Nobody cares about that.
Right.
It's going to give you 10% more crit. Oh, sweet. I need that. So it looks like they're going to try to make more of that kind of a change coming up. And it sounds like, if anything, they'll probably do that sooner. And they said in the next patch, which they're going to talk about on a stream, I think on Tuesday of this coming week. So that's the 18th. They're going to talk about the next patch that's going to be rolling out on beta soon. And that's one of the things that they're talking about is how the Azurite armor traits are going to change. On top of that, as you mentioned, the island expeditions feel very directionless.
Yes.
Where they already just put in a hot fix to make the cosmetic rewards pop up more often for people to try to give you an incentive to play, which I think that's great. There's some cool stuff out there. But the lament that was made about how they don't feel like they have a real clear direction, it's part of the reason why I don't play them. I feel that that's exactly what happens, as you've described. You jump off the boat, you grab everything as fast as you can, you kill it as fast as you can, and you're not exploring shit.
Oh, no.
You're just basically, okay, where's the next biggest mob I can grab? Okay, he's over there. Let's go over there. And it's just this frenetic pace that it doesn't feel rewarding. It stresses me out. And I get enough of that in Raid.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to do that for artifact power or any of that kind of stuff. So one of the things that Ian mentioned as well was that for the island expeditions, okay, they've increased the level of drops for the cosmetic items, but they're also looking at how they're going to, and he used this phrase, refine the structure. So trying to figure out how to get away less from that frantic pace of, oh shit, we got to get this thing as fast as we can, go, to something that might feel a little bit better. And I think that would be a great change that would certainly get people like me more involved. There were, as we touched on a little bit earlier, complaints about QA testing when it came to the raids, as well as a few other things where he admitted it was a mathematical error that made Fetid Devourer literally impossible. Mathematically impossible was the term that they used. And that did happen. There was some bad math. It happened. They corrected it. Off you go. But he was, he was protective, I think, of the QA testing that they have, which is, this is how these things work. They have internal testing, they have the data that they have, and they try to make an educated guess. And yes, there are bugs and complaints and things that pop up that do linger, and I think that they'll continue to try to work on being responsive to that. That's just kind of part of the game. It's a living... People have to think of this game as like a living creature. Like
absolutely.
It's like a living document almost that just, it changes. It's subject to change. What is in, if people are keeping an eye on a lot of different things, it's a huge game. Sometimes you just have to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And I think they do as much as they can, but at the same time, you just have to sometimes let it out into the wild and see what happens. And that's a lot of what happens here. They talked about Warfronts. Ian mentioned that the cycle is supposed to be about 3.5 weeks, which does feel like forever when it's a new expansion.
Yeah.
And it's sort of this slow burn thing, and they want to make sure that everybody has time to get in, going back to more of who are the players that play this game. If there's somebody who can't log in for 3 or 4 days, well, they're going to miss everything. If the cycle's only a couple of weeks, Things happen in spurts of 3 days at a time. Whereas if you make it a week at a time for one section, a week at a time for another section, then you have more engagement by a broader portion of the game player base. And early on, that's tough because we get bored very quickly because we're just eating this shit up. But he promised there will be more. There will be more locations, and it's coming. And that's exactly what we want to hear, is that these complaints are being heard, they're being responded to, and that there's more in the queue. And I've always kind of assumed that with this expansion is that there's just more coming, but we have to be patient about it, and it's very hard. Very hard to be patient because we're only a month in.
Yeah, exactly.
Think of all we've done already in a month. I mean, it feels like this expansion's already been around for quite a while.
Yeah, it does.
But there is more coming, and I really appreciate somebody like Ian coming on and fielding those questions. The most important of all of these things, Azerite armor, Island expeditions, QA, Warfronts, shamans getting extra thunderous, all this kind of stuff. It's great. But the most important thing that he touched on was the B mount. When somebody had asked about the fact that the Alliance reputation mounts lack diversity, where the Horde reputation mounts are varied, all the Alliance ones are horses. Mm-hmm. And he made mention of kind of what the process was as they were going through and developing those things, but that there will be opportunities for more. And then he made the statement that, speaking of which, that B is pretty wonderful, isn't it? To that I say, yes, it is. And I cannot wait. Please tell me where to get it. I will pay all the gold. So, huzzah. Other than those items, honestly, I really encourage people to go through and look at Ian's total AMA. It was very long. He gave comprehensive answers, man. He was there for hours answering questions, and I can't give him enough credit again for sticking with it. And, you know, he's long-winded in a lot of these answers, but
people are long-winded asking questions too. I mean, people get real long-winded asking questions.
Oh yeah. This was not a what's your favorite hot dog cart. This was, I have gone through all of these things and here are the 10 things and I want answers on all of these. And dude spent the time answering those questions. So, you know, kudos to him. You're not going to see a lot like this because I'm sure somebody probably yelled at him on the backside. I was like, dude, Ian, AMAs are supposed to be short. I don't know what this is, but got to hack it down next time to at least half the length of these answers. But check it out. I think you'll get some value out of it, no matter what kind of player you are, just to see kind of how they think and address these problems. Last but not least, the virtual stream, now available for purchase. And now we're going to come full circle. The $50 that I spent on the Digital Deluxe that was refunded to me when I got my physical collector's edition has now gone towards the purchase of my virtual stream. So Blizzard, you did it. You did it. You got me. You got my money. And we don't quite know all the details yet of what you get, other than get to help build a panel at BlizzCon. It sounds like this year it's going to be a little more comprehensive in player engagement, where if you have the virtual stream, I think there's going to be some voting going on and some other things for some of the community night stuff. But it's out there. It's $50. It's $10 more than it was in previous years. My DirecTV woes probably have been slayed for good since they didn't do the partnership with DirecTV last year. I think that that's dead going forward, so you'll have to stream it somehow to your TV or your computer or whatever. And one last piece is, can't quite say what and where and what all yet, but this show does have something coming up around BlizzCon that I'm kind of surprised by, but nonetheless, we'll be excited to tell you guys about once everything is official and the word has gone through and flags have been raised and contracts have been signed and blood has been spilled. Given and everything else. But this show will have a little something extra this year for BlizzCon. So I'm excited to tell you all about that when the time comes. But just wanted to throw that out there real quick for now. So I think that'll do it for this episode. We've certainly touched on a lot this week. Other than this fine program, where can the good people find you on the internet, Navox?
You can always follow me out on Twitter. I am at NAV_OX.
As for me, you can always find me on Twitter at Berzerker Rage. Feel free to contact this show with your questions, comments, or otherwise at unshackledfuryshow@gmail.com. And you can find this show on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet, your banners high, and we'll catch you next time. Farewell.